Whispers in the static, flickering lights. The night is descending. G.E.E.K.S Paranormal. Sin waits. Hard to shadow know that something waits. Signals, the senses hum. G.E.E.K.S Paranormal, hear the spirits come. Streaming live to the curious eyes. Cameras flicker while the phantom flies. Every creak in the floor, every cold breeze is a secret the shadows whisper with ease. Protest a voice calm, but the pulse is high. Your driving pulses meet the other wordless sky. Bassline driving like footsteps in the hall. Guitar riffs wail as the shadows call. Poltergeist energy in the dance floor glow. G.E.E.K.S Paranormal makes the haunted show.
Voices in the dark, can you hear them scream? Streaming to the living in the dream. Ghost in the static, moving with the beat. G.E.E.K.S Paranormal, feel the night's heartbeat.
Infrared lights scanning the room. Spectacles appear in the jam gloom. Podcaster insight streamers, keen eye tracking the spirits as they float and fly. Spooky whispers while the circuit line just bend like a portal through space and time. Every note builds tension in the haunted air. G.E.E.K.S Paranormal, the ghosts beware. Crowds at home watching the pulse unfold. Stories of the night in the visuals told. Dance with the phantoms, EDM embrace. Ghosts and humans share the same space.
Voices in the dark, can you hear them scream? Streaming to the living in the dream. Ghost in the static, moving with the beat. G.E.E.K.S Paranormal, feel the night's heartbeat.
Whispers grow, machines hum, ghosts rise,
Lights flicker.
heartbeat slows, darkness pulses.
Are you ready?
paranormal.
In the shadows,
Investigating,
streaming,
podcasting.
forever chasing the unseen.
Whispers in the static. Flickering lights. The night is listening. Geeks Paranormal. Sin waits. Hard to shadow know that something waits. Late night signals, the senses hum. Geeks Paranormal, hear the spirits come. Streaming live to the curious eyes. Cameras flicker while the phantom flies. Every creak in the floor, every cold breeze is a secret the shadows whisper with ease. Protest a voice calm, but the pulse is high. Your driving pulses meet the other wordless sky. Baseline driving like footsteps in the hall. Guitar riffs wail as the shadows call. Poltergeist energy in the dance floor glow. Geeks Paranormal makes the haunted show.
Voices in the dark, can you hear them scream? Streaming to the living, living in the dream. Ghost in the static, moving with the beat. Geeks Paranormal, feel the night's heartbeat. Candles flicker, screens light the haze. Your time storm in a spectral maze. From haunted halls to the digital streams, we chase the shadows, we chase the dreams.
Infrared lights scanning the room. Specters appear in the EJM gloom. Part tester insight streamers, keen eye tracking the spirits as they float and fly. Spooky whispers rather search the line. Respond like a portal through space and time. Every note builds tension in the haunted air. Geeks Paranormal, the ghosts beware. Crowds at home watching the pulse unfold. Stories of the night in the visuals told. Dance with the phantoms, EDM embrace. Ghosts and humans share the same space.
Voices in the dark, can you hear them scream? Streaming to the living, living in the dream. Ghost in the static, moving with the beat. Geeks Paranormal, feel the night's heartbeat.
heartbeat slows. Darkness pulses.
Are you ready?
Silence holds.
Only the static.
In Geeks Paranormal.
In the shadows.
Investigating.
Streaming.
Podcasting.
Forever chasing the unseen.
Whispers in the static. Flickering lights. The night is descending. Geeks Paranormal. Thin whites. Hard to shadow know that something waits.
You're supposed to say the words.
Oh, is it? I gotta say that?
Yes.
Public service announcement. The views and opinions are the opinions.
Fuck that bullshit. They are my opinions and my guests, no one else's. Remember, this show ain't for chitlins' ears, so listening discretion and viewing discretion is advised. This is a paranormal horror crime show, so the scenes and the sounds can be a little terrifying to those little ears and those little eyeballs. And of course, there's obviously cussing. I mean, it's me. Also, please don't do anything that these stupid ass people do in this video or this podcast. This is for entertainment purposes and for you guys to listen with your ears, consume the knowledge. And now, time for the show.
Whispers in the static. Flickering light. The night is descending. Geeks Paranormal. Shadows know that something waits. Late night signals, the sensors hum. Geeks Paranormal, hear the spirits come. Streaming live to the curious eyes. Cameras flicker while the phantom fly. Poltergeist energy in the dance floor glow. Geeks Paranormal makes the haunted show.
Haunted halls to the digital streams. We
All right, what is up, everybody? It is Shauna with Exploring the Paranormal Perspective and founder of Geeks Paranormal, or you can just call me Geeks. Most everybody does. I have a wonderful guest. I've actually been wanting him on my show for the last couple of years and just never got the cojones to ask him until recently when Eric Werner told me, get him on your show. And I was like, okay, so typing up, and I asked, and he's like, sure. So, Allen, thank you so much for coming on the show. And
no problem.
Tell me how to say your last name, because I didn't want to. Cornelison?
Well, it's Cornelison.
Oh, I got it right.
You did. You did. It's Cornelison. Yeah, Cornelison. But I go anymore. I go by Lobo. Everybody seems to, all of a sudden I got this strange handle of Lobo, and it comes from just kind of walking my own path, I guess. Really? As far as the paranormal goes. Yeah.
So I did notice that after researching you for a little bit, it was Allen Lobo Cornelison. So why do they call you the Lone Wolf?
It's because I have a different attitude towards the paranormal. If you look at a lot of investigators, I shouldn't say all, but a lot, they really embrace the fact that, ghosts are Casper. It's like it's like a fun time out, and everybody gets together and they take a shot of Fireball before they jump into the dark, right? and they do all this stuff, and it's like, no, you don't do that, and these things will hurt you if they'll follow you home. It's a bad thing, and so I kind of rub some people the wrong way sometimes. And so they kind of just started calling me Lobo because I had my own opinions on the paranormal. Over the years, I've really grown spiritually, and my how do I put this? My view on the paranormal has grown immensely. Back in the day, I thought it was exciting. You chase ghosts and maybe be able to witness something really spectacular. And then I found this place called the Stagecoach Inn that just practically destroyed my life. And then I really realized that, it's not all the fun and games it's made up to be. And when I see people, changing in personality and the way they act, anyway, that's kind of, in short, that's kind of who I am. And I do everything I can now to send these things back to hell. I'm kind of a ghost slayer anymore.
The ghost slayer.
Ghost slayer. Yeah. I work with Father Ruben Lopez. He is an exorcist. And we've worked on a couple things together. And if I feel it's something that even if it's not demonic, even if it's just something malevolent, we will work together to get rid of it. In fact, when I do an investigation anymore, the first thing out of my mouth is, okay, what's your plans? What do you want to do if I find something here? If they say, well, I'd like to turn it into like a haunted attraction. No, find somebody else. Not for me. I won't do it. No, I won't do it. I won't do it. But if they want to get rid of it, yes, I'm the guy. I will get rid of it. I will cast it out.
So, oh my gosh, that is very scary. And I totally agree with you, because talking about the Fireball thing, don't drink before you go on investigations, guys. No, that is just absolutely. I mean, a lot of people I've seen a lot of kids. I say kids because they're kids.
I've seen adults.
Locations.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell are you doing? You don't go into a haunted location drunk or even buzzed, because you never know what's going to attach to you. And you have had a lot of shit happen to you.
I have.
Not because of that, but because of the paranormal as a whole.
Yes.
So what made you decide to go into paranormal, considering, because you were in the military? What's scarier, jumping out of airplanes or paranormal?
Well, I don't know which is crazier. You get into a plane that's supposed to land someplace else, and I took off in a lot of them, and at least 5, and never landed one of them. And so I always went out the tail end. And then of course I was air assault, so I got transferred
Mhm.
to Campbell, and then it was all helicopters from there at air assault school, and rappelling down walls and rappelling out of helicopters and all that kind of cool stuff. And I carried the pig. You know what the pig is?
No.
M60. That was my baby.
Oh my God, that thing is heavy as hell.
I know,
How the
that's what
hell did you carry?
anybody that was over 200 pounds and was 6'1", they got issued the pig, and
Oh
that was
my
my
God.
baby.
Oh my! Now I loved shooting that gun, but no,
Yeah,
I would not
yeah.
carry. You had to have been a strong human being.
Not well. It just took grit. And nothing strong about it. It just,
Well, first and
I
foremost,
don't.
thank you for your service.
You're welcome. It was a long time ago, and I'm 65 now. I was, 18 back then, and I was, 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Now I think I probably now I'm like probably 6'1". I think I've shrank. The only thing growing any longer on me is my earlobes.
That tends to happen. It's women. It's the jowls.
Well, I got those too. In fact, I try not to turn my head to the side because that's when you see them. So,
Oh my gosh! So, what got you into the paranormal?
well, have you heard anything about my book?
I have actually heard a lot about your books.
I'll tell you, the original story goes like this. I investigated this years ago. My daughter Melinda lost her mother. Okay, it was a fire, and I remember the first time I told this story. It was before I even wrote the book. Elizabeth Saint was doing. You remember Elizabeth Saint? Never her, or do you know who she is? She was doing this thing for our school, and she went around the room and she asked all of us the very same question: how did you get into the paranormal? So I started telling her about this story about Melinda and her mother passing away, and that Melinda had seen her mother, and I couldn't see her because I went into the bedroom to see who she was talking to. She was only like 2.5 years old.
Oh
And
God!
yeah, so I remember telling her this story, and Elizabeth saying it, just bawling,
Oh.
just crying. And she followed me around the rest of the night. It was her, and it was Coyote Chris Sutton and myself. Coyote Chris Sutton was a really cool guy. In fact, he also said my book was just dynamic. He said, I don't care if you're 40, done this for 40 years or 4 days. He said, this is a must read, Alan. I said, yeah, thanks. Anyway,
Oh.
that's how I got started in it. I couldn't see what my daughter had seen, and when I asked her, I said, Melinda, I walked into the room and I told her it was time to go to sleep, and I fully expected to see her playing with a toy, a little My Little Pony or one of her toys,
Yeah.
but she wasn't. She was just sitting there on her bed. Her little feet were just kind of dangling off the edge. They wouldn't even touch the ground. I mean, she's just a little thing.
Oh
And
my
I
gosh.
remember I left the room. I took about 6 or 7 steps, and I just paused, and I thought that was really weird. Everything with me. I gotta make sense of something.
Right.
Why is
Oh
she
yeah.
doing this? And I'm a parent. And so I'm parenting by myself. Um, and I peeked it back in. I said, honey, she's still sitting up. And I said, who are you talking to? And she looks at me in the most very matter of fact way. Her fingers, they didn't even make like a gun. It was just
Yeah.
loose. And she just kind of, I
Mm.
remember vividly the little chubby fingers pointing at the closet, the open closet. And this closet wasn't very big. It was in this ramshackle little mobile home. And this closet was like 2 foot deep and maybe 6 foot wide. She points to the closet, and she just looks at me in a very matter of fact way and says, Mommy.
Oh my
And,
God.
and I just like, I'm looking at the closet and I'm trying my hardest to see what she's seeing. Cause she's so matter of fact. It's like me saying, I see you right now, right in front of me,
Yeah.
on this camera, I see you. And it was that matter of fact. And I remember her just laying down. She just laid down, laid her little head in the pillow, and just zoned out. And I remember just standing there for a second, and I was so angry. I was mad. I was confused. I had this lump in my throat. My stomach was just caved in. I was a mess. And I thought, what the hell? You know, there's nothing there. And so I went and sat back down in my chair, and I'm watching Hulk Hogan's WF wrestling. I mean, that's how long ago this was. This is back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that's when it all started. I had to go to the library and figure all this stuff out. And there was nothing at the library. There was like books that talked about ghosts and ghostly, sightings and
Mm.
stuff. And I think I found a magazine that had the Warrens in it, and learned a little bit about EVPs and taking photos. And I didn't understand any of that stuff. I'm a farm kid. I'm
Right.
ex-airborne, for crying out loud. I'm able to, if something's in front of me, I can either kill it or get away from it. And
Right.
this didn't make any sense to me. So yeah, that's how the journey all started. And
Wow.
and I thought, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. And so I started kind of, I guess, being kind of a little open about me interested in ghosts, and people started noticing that, but I didn't want to say it outwardly, because when
Right.
people say, well, what kind of hobby do you have? I would say, well, I investigate, or I didn't even say investigate. I look for ghosts. And all of a sudden you grew a
Mm.
second head back then. I mean, it's not
Right.
as embraced as it is today. So I had to be really kind of careful. But some people started noticing that I was doing this kind of research, and they said, hey, I know a guy that he thinks his house is haunted. You want to go check it out? And I thought, well, yeah, sure. But it was out of my own selfishness, because it
Mm.
wasn't to look for a ghost for them. It was for me. I
Yeah.
wanted to see if I could find what Melinda had seen in her closet.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of construction at that time in my background, and I understood how houses worked. And I understood the theory behind frost and unfrost in the ground, and
Right.
how everything that happens and below happens above, and I used all those techniques to understand what was going on in people's houses, and I was helping people. And sometimes, I can tell you, maybe in the 44 years I've done this outside of the Stagecoach Inn, probably, a little over two handfuls of times when I could not explain it. It was
Wow.
always a raccoon or a breeze or a pipe that would bang or something like that. But I was helping people, and suddenly that selfishness went away, and I began to figure out that I'm doing something good. And I was no longer looking for Teresa, and that was her name, by the way. I was helping people, and um, that made me feel good.
Yeah.
And this was back before it was even popular. So when you did meet up with somebody else that was doing the paranormal, it was like quiet whispers. It was in the library. Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Blah, blah. But
Uh,
but that's the way it was, and it just kind of just went from there. And I was probably investigating at that time. I kid you not, um, uh, 6, 7 times a month, because I was just actually on the heels of of remember The Exorcist when it came out? You
yes.
wouldn't believe how many people thought that their house was possessed
Oh
with The
my god.
Exorcist.
I
You
can
know,
only
they,
imagine. Oh my
I
god.
seen more Ouija boards under beds than you could ever imagine. They were all
Oh,
there,
Ouija
you know.
boards.
Oh yeah, it was a ton of them. And so, but I had a lot of fun doing it, and hearing voices in basements. There's people in there. We just moved into this house. We're hearing voices in the basement, and we want you to come check it out. Sure, I'll come check it out. Like, I'd love to hear some voices in your basement.
Right?
And we'd be sitting there talking, and sure enough, there's voices coming out of the basement. Like, for crying out loud, what's that all about? So I had I had a reel to reel recorder. I mean, that was my first.
Oh my
Well, my
goodness.
first recorder was actually a Fisher Price recorder, and it was courtesy of Melinda, because I was trying to use it to catch EVPs. But I finally got invested in this reel to reel, had a nice microphone, and
Mm.
I said, I'm going to go down to this basement. I'm going to catch these people talking, just so we didn't have a place to post it to. It was nothing like that. But
Right.
at least I could validate for my
Right. You had that
clients.
scientific proof.
I have some proof for them that they can share with their family, and I just would have gave it to them. And so nothing happened, and this occurred like 4 times. And finally, I went down to the basement. I said, I'm just going to sit here. And sure enough, here's the voices. And what it
Wow.
was it was the floor drain in their house. They just moved in.
Oh
They had never
no.
run any water down there, and the P trap was dry. So what was going on was that P trap, of course, went to the lateral, went out to the main sewer line. So every time somebody would flush a toilet or run some water or whatever, that water would splash down into the main line and make a noise and reverberate down that pipe and up that lateral, and it sounded like voices. So
Oh.
I did my very first exorcism with a coffee can full of water, and I dumped it down the drain into the P trap, and voila, no more ghosts.
Well, I bet they were relieved.
Oh boy, were they. So, but
Oh my
that was
gosh.
my career for many years, you know, but there were things that I
Mhm.
couldn't explain along the way, that and it was creepy, you know. It was like,
Mhm.
God, I don't know how to explain this. I'd never seen anybody levitate off beds. I never seen nothing like that. I did see
Mhm.
like boards just fall over, just fall over in
Oh.
somebody's house. Like, how in the hell did that happen? And that was their claim. You know, I've got some really cool video. It was later, much later on. It's on my website, Allen at Lobo.com. The customer or the client was claiming that the lights were turning off and on in their house.
Right.
And I'd set cameras up all over in there and nothing had happened. And we decided to take a little break. I was with my team and we had this little closet space that we'd set up in. And the clients went into their kitchen and where they were talking and we could hear them talking over the mic over the wire the microphone on the camera. They had infrared set up all over the place, and we're watching them and we're just kind of visiting with each other and they're talking and all of a sudden the light go off. You can see the string on the ceiling fan light. It
Mhm.
slightly moves just a little bit, and you can see that they're both their hands are invisible. They're visible, and the
Oh.
light goes off, and he's like, "Whoa!" And he walks over to the wall. He's like feeling around in the dark because there was another switch on the wall, where a second switch you could turn off and on that light. And he
Right.
flips it up and down a couple of times, and he walks back and he's looking around in the dark trying to find this string to try to pull it to figure out what's going on, and it comes on and I caught it all on camera. And I was like, oh,
Oh
thank
my
God.
gosh.
Yeah, it was the coolest thing ever. And another case, I had my MAG-D running, which was something I created. It's called the Multiple Apparition Generating Device. This thing, it will smoke a millimeter. I mean, it'll just go
Really?
blank. Oh, yeah. And I
I've
had
never
it
even heard
sitting,
of that.
well, it's something I created.
Oh, well, that's why.
But but anyway, it just puts out a ton of EM. And I have a proximity locator in it where it picks up a static charge. You'll start blinking and flashing. I
Oh.
learned that when I used to put in security systems.
Oh,
So I
okay.
understood how to put in proximity switches so people would get to, like, say, too close to a display case or something, a little trouble
Mhm.
alarm would come on. So I just toned it down a little bit just to pick up light static charges because that's what they think these ghosts are made of, is some kind of energy like that.
Right.
So I was in a house where somebody had literally just came back from the hospital from stitches in their head. A board had flown across his kitchen. They were doing some renovating, hit a guy in the head, and it busted his head open. And so they
Oh
called me in,
man.
and I had cameras set up, and I had the MAG-D sitting on an end table, and I had the camera set up in a manner that I could see the staircase, I could see kind of the lobby area, or not really the lobby area, but just one area of the living room area, and then another adjacent room where this couch was at with this end table sitting on it. So you had a full view of a good portion of the house, and we're all kind of outside on this porch, and it was a hot night and we're all kind of watching the monitor. You know, we're hot and we had the door open, and Monica, one of my investigators, said, Alan, she said, look at the lights on that on your MAG-D, they're starting to really flash. And I started looking at it and I'm going, wow, that's interesting. And the next thing you know, guess what happens? That MAG-D gets knocked off the table. I
No.
mean, literally gets thrown off the table. And you can hear us
What?
all over the cameras. You can tell we were outside, because you can tell it's
Yeah.
outside voices. And we're going, oh my God. And I walked inside and it was just shattered on the floor. It was in a million pieces. And so
What
I
the
had to
heck?
rebuild it from scratch. Yeah, I know. It was insane. So yeah. I've seen a lot of crazy things, and then I, of course, found the Stagecoach in. That's
That is
where you're
crazy. That has to take a lot of energy to throw something or even knock something over or even
yeah.
shatter something.
Well, I've everything that's the cool thing about my books, especially the In Too Deep. Um, Everything in there has been caught on tape. I have a video record of everything that I've ever
That is
captured
awesome.
when I was at the Stagecoach Inn, and that's where Eric comes in, our friend Eric.
Mhm.
Um, I was one day doing something kind of like this. I was just on Facebook, just doing a live stream.
Mhm.
I had put the Stagecoach Inn in my rearview mirror. I'd moved back from Ida Grove after being there for 7 years,
Mhm.
and Daniel Class, who is the owner of the Hinsdale House, he
Yeah.
comes on. He says, "Hey man, you should write a book about that." And I said, "Okay, maybe. I don't know how to write a book. I know a guy." He says, "I know a guy." So I got a hold of Eric and I started telling him this story, and he was supposed to be like a ghostwriter for me. And I thought that's
Oh.
great because I'm not a writer at all. I would have, in high school, I would have melded into the cracks in the floor if somebody said I had to come up with a 500-word essay, you know. And so he says, "Yeah, I'm waiting for your call." And so we have a little short conversation, and I start just blowing up, just telling him everything about the Stagecoach and everything that I went through, how it just turned my life upside down, about destroyed my marriage. I mean, I was sick. I mean, accidents were happening to me. I mean, I ended up getting 9 screws put in my wrist. I mean, it
Oh
was
my
it was
God.
horrible. I mean, and he says, "Alan, stop." He says, "I can't tell this story." He said, "I can't do it." And I thought, shit, it sucks. He says, "No, it doesn't suck at all." He says, "There's no way that I can write this with the same enthusiasm and emotion that you're explaining it to me." And so I sat down in 3 weeks. He says, "Oh," he said, "I need this book." He said, "I need it before Halloween." And this is like September when I'm talking, first part of September. And he says, "I need it before Halloween." He
Oh my
says, "If you
God.
can get it done." And so I did it. Here, this is it. This is the original book. This is called Ghosts and Legends of the Stagecoach Inn.
Oh my
It doesn't
gosh.
exist anymore. There's a story behind that. We won't get into that though. But this is
Okay.
it. And I wrote it in less than 3 weeks. I literally would get up in the morning. I would write before I went to work. I would write when I came home from work. I would write after supper. I would write just before bed and then repeat. And I did that for 3 weeks. And everybody that's ever read this book says, "Alan, that is like sitting down next to you in an investigation." I wrote this thing so vividly. I mean, it's the only way I could write it. There
Yeah.
was no way I could write it any other way than be as vivid. And I talk about the grains of dust floating in the air in front of you. I mean, I just tried to bring the entire experience into words and put them on paper.
Right.
And then after In Too Deep went away, came, or excuse me, Ghost Legends went away, came this book, In Too Deep,
Oh.
because I was in way too deep. It's just kind of a short rewrite. It's a rewrite of the original book, and it's done very well. Um, but there
That.
was a cost. There was a
Oh
huge
no.
cost in these books, and that's been kind of my whole thing here lately. Um, I don't deter people from wanting to investigate the paranormal because we're all curious, all of us.
Right.
I get that, but you got to be so careful. Um, the darkness has darkness in it.
Oh God.
That's kind of a profound way of saying it, but the darkness has teeth, and those teeth at some point will rip your soul out. Um, People think that they're safe. You're not safe. You are literally, if you're not careful, an Uber driver, because these devices that we use, just kind of make my point, these devices that we use like this K2 are landing
Yeah.
strips for these entities. They understand it. They're smarter than you think they are. They understand. They've these things have been around for millions of years, and they've had a long time to hone their deceptive skills. They're very
Mm,
intelligent. They understand electronics. They understand when this thing comes on and flashes like this, that you are there to look for them, and they're actually going
mm,
to use it as a trap. And then they'll use it as a landing pad to come into your own home and walk across your threshold and invade your space. You are being hooked. As soon as this goes off, what happens? You're just flabbergasted. Oh my God, that
mm,
was the coolest thing ever. So what do? You start looking even more for it. You're
yeah.
looking in the dark. You are really jumping into the dark feet first. So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
How many times in an investigation do you talk into the dark?
All the time.
Like every minute of that whole time you're there, right?
Yeah, the whole time.
Okay. How many times in the week do you talk to God?
Oh, see, I pray to him every
Yeah,
once in a while,
see?
but not
I
every
got
time in the week.
I just got you. Yeah. How many
Yep.
times do you talk to the dark compared to talk to the light?
Right. I gotcha. Oh my God.
Boom.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man. It makes me want to tell the man upstairs more.
Yeah. I now you understand why they call me Lobo.
Yes. So speaking of Lobo, I know you come from a Native American
Cherokee.
ancestry, Cherokee. CURRAHEE,
Yes.
is it CURRAHEE or CURRAHEE?
Cherokee.
The
We
that stands alone, that means stands alone. What is the word
oh
that
oh
means stands alone?
Currahee.
CURRAHEE.
Currahee. That
Okay.
yeah, Currahee. That is, it's so ironic to me. Ever since I was a little kid, I
Mhm.
have been fascinated with the Native American culture.
Right.
Fascinated by it. My brother and sister were in band. They could play instruments. I could barely play a radio, but yet I could pick up a bow or a slingshot, or I was really good at hunting and stalking things. Always
Mm,
was. And I was adopted. I found out when I was very young that I was adopted as a baby. I never knew who my biological mother was, which really kind of messed me up. I think that's why I was in a really dark place all my life.
mm,
I felt like I was, uh, and I can speak freely about this now. I never could before, but I just felt like I was abandoned. I mean,
yeah.
one day you're living the dream of having a family, and then realizing that everything about your family is fake. It's not real. I was like 12 years old. I remember vividly. I was wanting to take a shower. I wanted to be a big guy, and we lived on a
Mm,
ranch house out in the country, and had a well. And I remember telling my mom, I said, I really want to take a shower. I want, everybody else takes a shower. She says, no, you use up all the water. It's well, blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, okay, fine. I'm gonna take a bath. And so I'm getting ready, and my mom comes back into the bathroom real quick. She says, "Al, by the way," she says, "Do you know what adopted means?" I go, "Yeah, I do." Well, you're adopted. That was it. That was it. Yeah,
wow.
and
What
she
kind
just
of
turned
shit
around.
is
And she just
that?
walked away, and it was like I'm standing there. It was like hanging, waiting for something else, and nothing else arrived. And so all of a sudden, I just felt like I had no identity, nothing.
Right?
Who I was just phony. And my life started turning that way. And I started and I had dyslexia, terribly bad. School was horrible for me. Um, it was a bunch of things. And then I found Teresa, and then she got killed. And then it's all this darkness, and it was almost as if this darkness recognized me later in life at the Stagecoach Inn and took advantage of me.
Mm,
And
mm,
finally I was lucky enough to find the light again, through Father Ruben Lopez. But wow, yeah, that's kind of my story in a nutshell there.
That's crazy. What parent does that regardless of, oh
Well,
my
the
God, I
cool
am so
thing was,
sorry.
is like, when my mother passed away, my adopted mom passed away, my dad gave me some paperwork, and it was from a lawyer outfit in Cedar in Fort Madison, Iowa, and he
Mhm.
says, "This is all I can give you." He says, "You can use whatever names are on this to maybe find your biological parents, your mother." She was a beautiful woman. She says, "We knew her. The story was that she was pregnant with you. We were trying to have a child of our own and couldn't. Um, Dorothy, your mom, my mom, my adopted mom,
Mm.
she couldn't have she could have kids. My dad had measles when he was young, so they thought that was the problem.
Oh.
And anyway, my biological mother was pregnant with me, and my mom and her, they worked at the same restaurant together in Fort Madison. And she says, "Look," she says, "I know you're trying to have a child. I will give you this one." And so that's how it came to be. And for years, I had this baby book, and I still have it, and it shows all these things in there of the blankets and little toys and the chew things for babies and all this
Yeah.
from aunt this person and uncle that person. And there was always this one, a teddy bear that I won't say her name, but it had this person's name behind it. And I said, who is that? Well, I found out later it was my biological mother. She gave me a teddy bear. It was the only thing she ever
Oh.
had a chance to give me. But I finally made connection, and I found out who these people were. It was kind of that proverbial open the can of worms, because oh my God, it
Mm.
was like I was so blessed in finding that these parents that I have are being adopted, because my biological father was in and out of the Iowa State Penitentiary like 2/3 of his life.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Wow.
He was a real winner. Literally, he got out of prison. You can't make this up. Got out of prison. He robbed a convenience store or some other store, a pack of cigarettes and booze. Got drunk, fell asleep on train tracks, and get hit by a train.
Karma's a bitch.
So
Oh my
yeah,
God. Ah,
I mean that's like a Hank Williams Jr. song, you know. But
right?
but I found out the other side of my family, the Clark side, which is in the identifiers of the Cherokee Nation.
Mhm.
That yes, I found out that I was Cherokee Indian, and I
Oh.
felt that I was always connected to the Native Americans, and that's what's so ironic. When I joined the 101st Airborne, and I was with the
Mhm.
first of the 506th, it's the CURRAHEEs, and CURRAHEE is a Cherokee
Mhm.
Indian word that means stands alone. And I've been doing
Oh,
it all my life.
wow. Oh my gosh, that is a fascinating story, especially coming from where you were in the darkness and then you finally found who you are. Did that kind of bring more of a light to what you were doing? And like, how old were you when you found out all this? Well, found out about your
I
birth
was
mom and
12. I was
everything.
12 years old when I found out that I was adopted, and I hung on to
Right.
that for many years. And on my birthday, which is August 17th, 1960,
My birthday is the
every
18th.
wow,
How awesome.
how awesome is that? No, every year on the 17th, I would literally go outside at night and I would look up at the stars, and I would hope I hoped that my mom was doing the same thing, and that we
Yeah.
were looking at the same stars together. It was, I mean, granted, that's a silly thought,
No, it
but
ain't.
it was kind of comforting for me, thinking
Mhm.
maybe, just maybe tonight, on this night, she'd look at the stars, same stars I am, and going, I wonder how he is. And it was like,
Yeah.
I'm fine, I'm great, and
Yeah.
that's my life, and then I got into this thing called the paranormal, and it just screwed me all up.
Well, now since you are in the paranormal, you did bring a little bit of your military technical knowledge to these investigations. Kind of walk us through this. Like, what's the difference between securing a perimeter in the army versus security one against whatever
Well,
doesn't
for
want to
one
stay?
thing, it's to avoid the shock and awe. When you were in the military, I
Yeah.
don't know if you were in early enough that you remember a shark attack. Was you in during
Uh,
the shark attack era? That's when the DI
uh,
gets in your face and calls you everything but a human being.
oh, well, they did that, but they couldn't. I just went in when they couldn't cuss anymore, so they were having a hard
Well, no,
time.
they were cussing, and they were laying hands on you. Yes, and so
Makes you
um,
stronger.
yeah, it does, it does. But what the idea of that is to put enough stress on you to be able to handle a combat
Right.
situation,
Yeah.
because what they're trying to do is create that stressfulness so you
Yeah.
stay focused. And so I brought that with me to investigations. When something would happen, I knew that I couldn't just like freak out and say, oh my god, what was that, what do I do?
Right.
It was like, no, I got to stay focused, get rid of the shock and awe, be an
Mm-hmm.
investigator and investigate. Find out where that sound came from. Try to make sense of it first. Don't call it a
Yeah.
ghost right away.
Mhm.
What was around that could have made that sound? And
Right.
that's what you need to do. And I actually talk about that in chapter 1 of my book, In Too Deep, or if you're lucky enough to have a copy of Ghosts and Legends Stagecoach Inn, I talk about that because it happened. When I was on my third night's investigation of the Stagecoach Inn, I only had 3 nights to investigate there. When I made that plea to the Historical Society to let me investigate, they said, yeah, you can. I was hoping they'd give me like a year, but they said only 3 nights. And so I was
Oh.
kind of bummed out. But I really wasn't expecting anything because it was just an old building, but it
Mm-hmm.
was built in 1856. Why in the hell wouldn't it be haunted, right?
Right.
So it's my third night. Nothing's happened. I mean, it was quiet. The first 2 nights I was there, it was like eerie quiet. It was like almost in a vacuum quiet, and nothing was going on. And I remember I had one camera. It was a night vision camera that I had it set up. It was a security camera. It's one of those cheap security
Mm.
cameras hooked up to a VCR, and I had it sitting on a tripod, and I moved it to what would be the judge's quarters and faced it into the area that I was in, which is called the community room. And I'm standing there next to this glass display case, and it had a Civil War flag in it.
Oh.
And I had a ghost meter sitting on it. The clear plastic ghost meters that blink and they flash.
Yeah.
They're real audible. And I had that sitting on there. And I took my flashlight and I shined on it. And I looked at the camera and I said, well, the house is essentially flat. Nothing's going on.
Mm.
And I no more said that, and something jerked really freaking hard in the back of my coat. And I caught it on tape. I mean, you can't see it
Oh.
happening, but you see my reaction. And I spun
Yeah.
around. I spun around in a circle with my flashlight because I thought maybe I'd inadvertently backed up into something,
Right.
but there's nothing back there, nothing.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm going, oh my God. I says, is there somebody in this room with me? And it was dead silence. Well, the next day, and there's more to the story than that, but the next
Mm.
day I went over some EVPs. I had a digital tape recorder running at the same time. And I
Oh.
got to the point where you could hear me getting startled. And I asked the question, is there somebody in the room with me? And it's so clear. I posted it so many times on my site. It says, yeah, it was me. And it was a little girl's voice.
Oh my gosh.
It blew me away. And of course, I took it to the Historical Society the following Thursday. They had their big meeting, and I was surrounded by people. Everybody wanted to hear it. And the next thing you know, people are telling me all of these stories. Alan, we're so glad that you're doing this. Back in the day, this happened, and this happened. And so I'm thinking, wow, this place is more active than I thought it was. Backing up though, when I pleaded the Historical Society, and was I explained myself as being a paranormal researcher because I
Mm-hmm.
thought it may have sounded more important than the guy investigating the paranormal. I thought I'd get me
Yeah.
in the door a little easier. And everybody was, we just need to raise a hand, to let out, do this. And there was one person, her name was Connolly, and she all of a sudden spoke up, and she was probably 80 years old at the time. And she says, why in the world would we want somebody to go back out there and just conjure things up all over again? Yeah, your mouth dropped open just like that. So did mine. I did everything to bite the inside of my mouth and go, excuse me, what are you talking about?
Uh,
So I just ignored it. but there were time back in the 70s. Kids were getting really terrified in there. But there was also, of course, back in the 70s was, the whole exorcist thing.
Right.
There was a group of individuals that went in there. They had a hard time getting them out. This old building. They call it the old barn at that time because it was no longer it wasn't an inn anymore. It was just an old ramshack building.
Right.
It doesn't look nothing like this photo back here displays. It looked just like, well, you can't really see it very good. Like the cover of the book. It was just an old building.
Yeah.
But a cult had got in there.
Oh no.
Not a cult. What do you call them? They had pentagrams and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, they were killing like cats and dogs and doing all kinds of bloodlettings.
They were
and all
doing
kinds
actual seances and stuff like that.
yes. They were doing that. And then of course there was John Moore. He lived out there when it was still a functional building. The Moorheads had moved out of the inn in sometime in the early 1900s. John died out there. Martha moved back into town with Giles, her oldest son, who was a doctor. But they'd rented the property out to a gentleman by the name of John Moore, who turned it into a small farm. There was a barn there, and he had some livestock. John Moore was a member, get this, of the Odd Fellows, and they were having their meetings out there. With the weird masks on their faces and this, doing all the crazy things. Yeah.
Well, talk about the energy on that one. Whew.
Well, no, I can keep going. There's a Sioux burial tree on property. So
really?
The Sioux Indian, that's all Native American burial ground that the building is sitting on. Yeah. All the furniture on the inside, every bit of it is donated, and it's from the era of the 1800s up to about 1920. Beds, especially that's something else. Everything happens on beds. Death, what happens on beds.
Yeah.
Everything happens on beds.
Death,
But the whole house is nothing but donated items from the eras of which the Stagecoach Inn was built in. So I called it a petri dish of activity. There was so many layers of what could be going on there. And Christopher Moon, I don't know if you ever heard of him or not. Christopher Moon, he's a psychic medium. He came there and he had actually had the very first ghost box. And he got pretty famous over it. He came to the Stagecoach Inn and he says, Alan, he says, I've been to a lot of places all over the country, in the world for that matter. And he says, I used to think the Sally House was the most haunted place in America. He says, I was wrong. He said, this is it. It's right here. He said, this is the darkest place I've ever been to in my life. And I investigated it for 7 years. I would literally go to work every day. I would take my lunch and go out to the Stagecoach Inn and eat on the porch. This place had me so obsessed. Constantly. I was out there all the time.
Oh my God.
So yeah,
it hooked you.
It did. And that's what happens to people. And it can happen to people. And I just had a friend, I won't mention his name. He just passed away, much younger than me. And his vices caught up with him. I remember I had a conversation with him one day. I said, buddy, you've got to step back from this. I said, the darkness is eating you alive. And he says, oh, Alan, he says, it's fine. He says, it's okay. He says, how do you put it? He goes, people, they need to learn to accept the darkness as it is. It's not embraced correctly. The light and the dark, both, they come together. And I'm going, oh my God. In fact, I just created a YouTube page the other day, and I put a short clip on there, and I'm talking about this thing with him, and I had this thing. It's called the Pelican. It's made by Ghost Gear. I know Robert. Robert's a good friend of mine. It's called the Pelican, and when I started talking about the darkness and what he was doing, I have these things on sometimes when I'm doing these feeds. Nothing's ever happened before.
Right.
It goes off. It goes off. Both times that I'm talking about this darkness, this thing goes off. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
here you
God.
go, Robert. There's your commercial. Hope you're watching this.
Well, that's a good commercial because, oh my God. But
It
you
was
talk
pretty
about the
wild.
darkness, but you also talk about protection and spiritual and faith. Now, for our listeners who might be experiencing something paranormal, what does spiritual protection actually look like?
Spiritual protection actually looks like it's just believing in something. Okay,
Mhm.
you've got to allow something to come into your life that gives you hope and
Mhm.
happiness. It moves you away from dark things. All right. Um, your butt's falling out.
No
Second.
problem.
Anyway, how to protect yourself. One, it's grounding. You got to be grounded into what you're doing. And
Right.
two, believing in something. I personally, I believe in my creator. I call him the creator. I don't call it God. I don't say God or Christ. It's the creator. And to hang on to something that brings you happiness. Now, I talk smack to people that have all these rocks and these stones and they think they're
Mm.
protecting them. Those are false idols. You should never ever use a rock or a stone to think it's going to protect you. It does not. Only thing that's going to protect you is the blood of Christ. Um,
Mm.
but I use this. This is mine.
Oh.
This is I made this. This is my medicine bag. People say, "Well, Alan, that's a false idol. I mean, you're using that for protection." I go, "No, it's what's in it that I'm using it for protection. This is my light."
Mm.
And they go, "Well, what's in there so light?" And I go, "Well, I can tell you what's in here. I can't show you, but I can tell you. Because if I show
Uh-huh.
you, the magic more or less goes away. And what it is, there's a seashell in here.
Mm.
And it was the very first time me and Pam went out of state together. She'd never been out of Iowa before, and we walked on the ocean, the shore, and we found this little shell. And she says, "Oh my gosh, it's beautiful." And so I took that and I put it in here. And there's other little things in here that remind me of good memories. And so
Yeah.
when I get into that really dark place, and I want that protection and I need that light to come back into my life, I take
Mm.
these items out of this bag and I examine them. And all of a sudden you'll feel it all over your body. You will feel those little
Mm.
tingles of energy,
Yeah.
and you'll begin to heal from whatever darkness is there. And then you basically just say, "Stand behind me, Satan. The Lord is with
Mm.
me." And I'm not a Bible thumper by any stretch of the imagination,
Right.
but if there's any one thing in this whole universe, it's God. God created these things.
Mm.
He can destroy them.
Mm.
So, or the creator, however you want to put it. But that's protection. There's also in this book, my latest book, I'll get it out here, Navigating the Paranormal. There
Mm.
is a prayer of protection in here that Father Ruben Lopez wrote that any
Oh.
investigating team can use at any time during an investigation. It's a wonderful prayer. You can say it out loud, say it as a group, and it will give you protection as you're in that situation. It's really cool.
Oh my God. That sounds really cool. Ah. I
Well,
just get
when I
chill
wrote
buns
this
thinking
book,
about it.
when I wrote this book, it's something different. It's a compass. It's not like your ordinary how-to book on how to
Mm.
use a millimeter or how to do an EVP session. In this book are things like how to deal with a narcissist, because
Oh.
there's a lot of them out there. There are people out there that if they feel like you are stealing their light because of your evidence, they will do
Mm.
everything in their power to bring you down.
Yeah.
That's what this book is about. It's about preparing investigators for what the paranormal is really about.
Yeah.
There's confidentiality agreements in this thing. There's everything in here. Revelation about the Stagecoach Inn, and how memory of the Stagecoach Inn was probably a big factor in what I experienced. When we're investigators, we're dealing with memories.
Yep.
People say, "Well, so and so had unfinished business." No, he didn't. He's gone. You think he had unfinished business. And when you start using those memories and all of a sudden something falls over for no reason, and it just does, it just falls over for no reason, you go, oh, that was him. He just validated that he still had to work on the Chevelle. Well, it just fell over. We have things around us all the time. Two things around us all the time: angelics and demonics. And if those demonics seen something fall over and you related to it that it was Uncle Bill, guess what they're going to do? They're going to steal that identity, and they're going to be Uncle Bill. They're going to do everything that you ask it to do, and then they're going to draw you away from the light, just like we talked about earlier.
Oh my God. So you talk about believing in the creator, and like he only has all the answers. In the 40 years of investigations, what questions are you still waiting for him to answer?
What questions am I still waiting for to be answered?
Yeah, what questions from by him?
I'm not. I'm more interested in getting there.
I agree with that one. I'm more interested in getting there too.
I really have no, I know that these things exist. I don't even go to haunted locations anymore. If I do an investigation, I don't do it more than 3 times. I don't go back and back and back and back. I know a lot of investigators, they've gone to certain locations 20 or 30 times, but you got to understand that these things are learning you faster than you're learning about them. Yeah. And so I have a rule that I only go to a place 3 times, and I will not pay to go to Waverly Manor or Hills. I did it for free for 7 years. Why in the hell would I want to pay to go down that same dark road again? Right. So I know that the paranormal exists. I know that it's not ghosts. Ghosts are a memory, as far as I'm concerned. They're a memory. I know that evil exists, and it will affect your life, and it will try to turn your ankle and turn you away from the light. That's again, I'm Lobo.
Well, you did talk about you don't really go on investigations anymore. You're more of a consultant now, right?
Right. I will. And so far, nobody's actually reached out to me. I've had at least one team that did, and I told them that they were in over their head and that they should get a priest, and they never called me back. But I do still investigate. But what I do is, God, my earbuds. I will go into a place and I'll just lay this stuff out. I won't make any note of it. I'll take a K2, I'll take a millimeter, I'll take some of Ghost Gear products, and I'll take them into a location and I just set them down. I don't talk to them. I don't let whatever's there know that I'm using these things for communication purposes. I sit and I observe. That's all I do. I let the family unit work and talk as they do. I might disable this. Dismiss. There we go. I let the family unit do whatever it is they do, and I observe and watch and see what happens. If something does happen, I have little notebooks, kind of like this little notebook right here. I have a lot of these notebooks, and I write down the time of then the K2 went off, what was going on, what was being said. I write it down in kind of a shorthand means, because these things are intelligent. I ain't saying they can read and write, but I have kind of my own little code. And then I go back the following day and I go home and I study this stuff and I think, okay, there's a logical explanation for this. There has to be. Or I'm going to go and say, I've dealt with this before, and I'm going to go back there and say, look, let's just get a priest. Okay. Yeah. And that's how I deal with it anymore. I investigate, but I don't inject myself into the investigation. Right. Because I know how dangerous it can be.
Now, during any of these exorcisms, have you ever heard, like, you always get like the talking in tongues or that's not the same voice? Have you ever witnessed anything like that?
Kind of. I had a gentleman come to me. It's been 2 years ago now. He had a rental property and he knew what I did. And he says, hey, I don't buy too much into this whole paranormal thing, but he says I got some weird stuff going on in my house that I'm renovating. And of course, right away, I'm thinking renovating, that does kind of stir up activity, or it can.
Yeah.
And usually it's because people start buying into this idea of it being haunted when things aren't going on. So I thought I got to get there and calm this guy down. So I go there and I start talking with him. He says, well, it's not really ghosts per se. He says, but I've been sick. Some tools have been like getting moved around and things come up missing. And he says, the story is, he says, I had these two people come into the house, and the agreement was they were going to fix it up and stay there at the same time. And they started out doing that, and then all of a sudden they were staying there and they were fixing anything up. So I had to tell them to leave. Well, the boyfriend said to me, he says, you really upset my girlfriend, and she's a witch. And she put these like little hex bags all over the property in the house and all these places. Yeah. And I said, I don't know anything about witchcraft. I didn't. So I called Robert Walzak from Ghost Gear. And I said, Robert, I says, I got this investigation due. I'm going to be looking for witches and witch spells. And he thought I was pulling his leg. And I said, no, I'm serious. And so I called Father Lopez as well. And he said, yeah. He said, Alan, he said, this stuff, he says, it's real mojo. He said, it's dark stuff. He says, it's demonic. He said, basically it's demonic. And he says, I will help you with this. And so with Father Ruben Lopez and with Robert's gear, we had it all set at the table. We start doing this as basically an exorcism. And we had him on Bluetooth, and all of Robert's devices, he had one, it's called the Epic Box. It's this one right here. I have, this one doesn't talk, but that Schrader guy, you've heard of him, Schrader?
Yep.
Robert got Schrader to do the yes, no. Yes, no, yes, no. Anyway, it was every time the father would start doing his exorcism blessing in Latin, it would go, no, 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 no. It's just like crazy. And then we started hearing whistles, loud shrieking whistles were going on in the house. And I was telling Father, I said, Father, we're hearing whistles here. He says, those aren't whistles, those are screams. He said, when you hear a whistle, he says, those are screams from hell. He says, there is a door open there. And this went on for like 2 hours. I videotaped the whole thing. It's all caught. I use this, I don't know if you can see it or not back here. This is Canon FX205. I had that thing running in IR, and we're watching the whole thing unfold. It was the creepiest, scariest thing that ever happened. But yeah, there were screams, there were whistles. We heard banging, knocking on walls. Caught it all on tape, every bit of it. It was epic. And finally it calmed down. It just went away. And Father, he was happy enough to say, Alan, he says, I think everything's clear now. And I recently, within the past 2 months or so, got in contact with the homeowner, and he says, since you guys left, he says, I've had no problems at all. He says, it's all good.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I had somebody in the chat saying K2 was invented to identify dangerous environmental radiation from electrical wiring and appliance. EMF naturally occurs in the environment also. Yep.
And that is very true. That is very true.
You have a cat?
Yeah, that's Ozzy.
Okay. He's wanting to say
Ozzy.
Hello.
Yeah, he does. He's outside the door. He's crying. He's a black cat. He's my Ozzy. He's crazy train. But yeah, the K2. But yeah, it was designed for detecting leaks for EM, because too much EM is thought to cause cancer.
Yeah.
And so electricians would use it mostly around fuse boxes and things like that, because it could make you sick. It can make you ill. So they came up with the K2, and then somebody somewhere along the line says this could be used as a ghost hunting device. And how they came to that, I don't know.
That is incredible. Oh my God.
But they do. All Robert's stuff is really, I like to use it. Do I think it works? I don't know. Again, I had some interesting things that happened last night with it. And I've had some interesting things happen at this location where this witch was at. I was at the Tennessee Demon House. I went out of state I went to a house down in Tennessee where a guy was having problems again on another renovation. His dog got killed and died for no reason. He ended up getting a fight with the cops. I mean, it was horrible. It was all kinds of things going on in this house. A group of investigators came out. I was there for 7 days. I don't know what it is with me with 7, but everything was 7, either 7 years or 7 days. But I went down there with Robert, and we caught the attention of Kalani, the ghost hunter. And Kalani came in there, and he was like blown away at this house. It was built in the early 1900s by it was a Mason house.
Oh,
it was a Masonic house. And oh my God, that another time that we had Father Ruben Lopez there, and Robert had one of his towers. It never hardly ever worked. And as Father Lopez was doing his prayers in Latin, this thing was lighting up like a Christmas tree. And I said, Robert, do you see that? He goes, yeah. I said, ever done that before? He goes, no.
Oh,
But we had things
gosh.
getting thrown. We were getting, you can't, everybody knows how the K2 works. It had to be around something electronic, like a computer or whatever. We were putting this thing up against columns, wooden columns in the building, and it was going off on wood.
God.
Yeah, on wood. So yeah, the Tennessee Demon House was that was another one of the places that I actually went out of state to look at because they were so concerned.
Oh my gosh. Now, anytime you have anything like the demonic or anything that happens, you always call in Father.
Father Lopez, yep. I work with him quite a little bit. He is an actual exorcist. I don't know if I've seen on your site or not, Jody Cortez, Joy. She passed away. She passed away from breast cancer. That's how I got in contact with Father Lopez. She was a very devout Catholic. But yeah, she got me in touch with him. I actually seen the video of her being exorcised. She was possessed. It's freaking scary. You can hear Father Lopez on a Bluetooth speaker, and it was a team in Pennsylvania that actually did the exorcism with him. And that's how I got in touch with him. And he's seen my work, and he's seen that I wasn't one of these thrill seekers that wanted views on Facebook. And he said, you know, I can really use you, Allen. He says, you're grounded. He says, you're not just going to blow smoke. And I don't call him very, very often. I might get advice from him. And I've only used him twice. Once it was down in Tennessee, and the second time was at this witch house. And so it's not like I use him all the time. I've never seen a full-blown exorcism, nor do I want to be a part of one. I don't think I personally have that kind of faith. You know, Father Lopez he suffered 2 heart attacks and 1 stroke.
Oh, bless his heart. Yep, because they attacked the priest. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they do. You know, and I talk about that in the book too, about, you know, who has the authority to do exorcisms, and it's exorcists, not these people that get their degree online saying that now they're qualified to do an exorcism. That you know, I watched a video, and I talk about it in this book, Navigating the Paranormal. I watched a video of a young lady, and she was saying, yeah, I do exorcisms, and there's one thing you should bring to an exorcism. And I thought for sure she was going to say God. She says, yourself. You always bring yourself to an exorcism. And I thought, what the hell? Why would somebody say this was a seminar? And I thought, why would this person? And so it's dangerous. You know, you're putting your team in danger. You're putting yourself in danger. You're putting other people in danger doing an exorcism. You know, everybody looks at these things like it's nothing big. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. What do you think about some of these demonologists? Like I've had quite a few demonologists on my show.
I think they, you know, demonologists, they're not exorcists.
No.
They have their purpose. They have their job. And a good demonologist will study, and they basically study whether or not there's a need for an exorcism. They understand that concept of when it's necessary. They understand the demonic side of things. But a demonologist should never do an exorcism. You know, you got to be a priest. What I understand, you know, you got to be part of, you know, the Catholic Church and be basically picked by the Pope to be an exorcist. I'm gonna let Ozzy in. You mind if I grab him?
I don't mind. I don't mind. Go
All
for
right,
it.
hang on a second.
All right. You can stand in the middle of a field and get EMF. Oh yeah. The Wi-Fi routers and stuff. You can actually get EMF from these Wi-Fi routers nowadays.
Okay, Ozzy's in the building.
Awesome. We were just talking about you can stand in the middle of a field and get EMF, and I was just letting the audience know, yeah, you can even get a high rating of EMF off of your router and your modem and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
too. We
yeah,
got
you can.
that. It was like, oh, well, that's great. No, I'm not gonna get any readings in here.
Yeah, you can. EM is a natural curves on our planet. I mean, it zooms around everywhere. There's really interesting place when in I Grove by the Stagecoach Inn. You got to walk up this hill, this wooded area, and every time you pass through this wooded area, you get huge amounts of EMF spikes on just in the middle of timber. It's in one place, but it's just the way the things are. So
yeah. Julie was going into the depth of EMF sickness or electromagnetic hypersensitivity causes non-specific symptoms that mimic everyday stress or allergies. It typically feels like a mix of headaches, chronic fatigue, and brain fog. Oh my gosh, I probably have this sickness then.
Yes,
sounds like me.
It does. It can even cause hallucinations.
Oh my gosh.
So if people are completely, they're seeing things in their house, it could be from EM. So and that's where it comes. This is Ozzy, by the way. Here's Ozzy. Say
hi, Ozzy. Oh, he's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
He's my Ozzy. That's why to be a good paranormal investigator, when I said earlier, don't let shock and awe affect you. Part of that shock and awe is allowing yourself to really analyze the situation. Is there a lot of EM in the house? Is that affecting your client in some way where they think and they believe that they're seeing things? You've got to, it's important to really look at an investigation, because I know what it's like where you live. I'm not even sure where you live at, but I know in Iowa, you have to disclose everything about your house. And if a client if somebody would happen to ask you, well, is your house haunted? And you had a paranormal investigator come in at some point because you thought it was, and you say, yeah, it's haunted. This happens, this happens, this happens. And so they go, well, I don't know if I want to buy a haunted house or not from you. So now your number that you're asking, let's just make this simple. Say you want $1,000 for your house. And so over time, nobody wants to buy your house because it's haunted. So now you're going to sell it for $400. And one day you get a phone call and somebody calls you and they say, hey, remember that noise you heard all the time? Well, I discovered what that was. It was a tennis ball that was in the ductwork of your house, and it was making all those noises. And so guess what that homeowner can do? He can turn around and come back after you. He can say, you told me my house was haunted. I was asking $1,000 for it. I got $400 because you told me it was haunted. We're going to court.
Ooh.
So so you got to be really careful about I never call any place haunted. I just say, yeah, there's something going on here I can't explain. There's some kind of strange activity. I've never called anything haunted, ever.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because that could really bite you in the butt in the end. Oh,
it could.
Goodness.
It could.
Well, during your time, because I'm in Oklahoma, so I know that I don't know if they have to disclose anything, but I know a lot of places now and a lot of states are saying that it is the law. You have to disclose whether or not your house is haunted because of people getting it. So
exactly.
What is your most, aside from the Stagecoach, because that has got to be your most memorable, what is one of the situations that you've had where you've helped someone and they came back disappointed that you didn't find anything?
So many times. There was one individual, she was so convinced that it was her dad that was haunting her house. And it's always sad, I mean, but I was able to determine it was a simple solution. It wasn't anything that was paranormal at all. And I explained it to her and I showed it to her, and she was so mad she threw me out of the house. She and she and I said, I'm sorry, but it's not your. She wanted it so badly to be your dad. And what scared me the most about it is I was afraid for her in the sense that she could actually bring something into her house.
Right.
That was the other side of that. I was thinking, you've got to calm, and you can't say that. You can't say, look, I
Yeah.
want you to calm down because I don't want something it is going to show up here that's going to mimic your dad, but it's not.
Right.
It was your stovepipes. I mean, that's all it
Oh,
is. I can make it happen right now, and I would. I'd make it happen. I just and she's yeah. So people do
oh.
they do get rather. I've had several people get snippy. In fact, when I do investigations, and they say, "Well, I've had another paranormal investigating team here, and they said," I go, "I don't want to know.
Mm.
I don't want to know what they said, and I don't
Right.
want to know who they are. I don't want have any idea who they are. I might know them, and if I find out an explanation for it, I don't want me to have any kind of bad opinion of them. So I don't want to
Right.
know. I don't want to know anything about other paranormal investigators and what they found. I want to come in here completely sanitized to the entire environment. I don't want to know where it's at, what's going on. You can kind of steer me in the direction, say, well, it's kind of the east side of the house that I'm having problems in. That's all I need to know. I don't want to know anything else. And so when I
Right.
start hearing things and discovering things, and I'm writing them down in my book, and then I come back to them, I go, okay, so what is it that you're experiencing? And they tell me this, and it seems to correlate with this stuff, and
Yeah.
it correlates with what I've captured. Then I'm on the phone, I'm saying, hey, Father, do you want to come over? You want to do a little exorcism for me, or it's whoever they want. A lot of times, they have their own clergy that they go to a church, and
Yeah.
they'll come in, they'll just do a simple blessing of the house. It doesn't necessarily have to be an exorcism, just a blessing,
Mm.
something that I'm not qualified to do, nor do I
Right.
want to be. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy from Iowa, as I always say. I'm just a guy from
Yeah.
Iowa, and I just want to solve some problems. And if it's something bigger than me, I say it's bigger than me.
Right.
I'm just of the flesh. These
Yep.
things, I can't see them. They can see me. You know, I can swing in the dark all I want, and I'm not going to hit nothing. That's like these people that throw around holy water. Well, what are you throwing it at? It's, I mean,
Uh,
what are you hitting with it? Really?
right.
So yeah, I stay away from that.
I try to do that too. I confer with like KT Scruggs. Do you know who he is?
No,
He's a
sorry.
priest. No, you're
Okay.
fine. He's a priest, and anytime I have like any kind of bad feeling or somebody comes to me with something that they believe might be demonic or anything like that, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
you know what, that's out of my area of expertise. I need to refer you to a friend of mine, and then I'll
And
ask
that's
him like,
yes.
can I do that? So yeah, that I totally wholeheartedly agree with you on that one.
That and as it should be. We all need to know that we're human, and
Mhm.
that we in no way can match up to whatever's dark out there. You see
Mm-mm.
your shows like Supernatural, where
Oh yeah,
they have the magic devil gun and and all that
yeah.
stuff.
The salt.
It's just a show. And we have the TV shows. When I was doing this, I had no mentors. I had nothing.
Yeah.
I had to kind of learn as I went. And then when did it start? It started like in the mid,
Like
like
early
2000s,
2000s.
right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, that's when all these teams started popping up, and their
Mm.
mentors were these entertainers. In most
Oh,
cases, I've seen a lot of individuals that are investigating that are hands down better than anything I've ever seen on TV,
yes.
honestly. And the thing is they say, this is fun to do, and there's always a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end to every series.
Mm.
What they don't show you is at the end when the cameras get shut off, what these people really go through. I know what I went
Mm.
through
Right.
when this camera got shut off, or any of the stuff that I would use got shut off, and I'd go home. I knew what was going on in my life. That's the stuff they don't tell you.
Nope.
That's the stuff that you need to be aware of. When the cameras get shut off, what happens then? How many of these people, I'm not going to say, I've heard rumors, of course, they're just rumors, but there's a few entertainers out there that have kids around the country that look just like them.
Uh-huh.
Infidelity runs really high in the paranormal.
Yep.
A lot of entertainers, I'm not going to mention any names, of course, but I do know that they have their difficulties, and I do
Mm-hmm.
believe it all stems from being in this dark field for a very,
Yeah.
very, very long time.
Yeah.
So beware. If you're curious, that's fine. Be curious, but dip your toes in and then get back out. That's why I call my team. I guess I really team, but it's called Dark River Paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my Facebook page is called, Dark River Paranormal. It used to be called Wanajee. Wanajee Paranormal was a Native American word that meant spirit or ghost. And when I left the Stagecoach Inn, I got rid of everything. I completely wanted to erase my entire career of being a paranormal investigator. I got rid of the name. I got rid of any T-shirts that I might have had. I got rid of equipment. I mean, I got rid of everything because I was sick. I mean, it
Mm.
spiritually destroyed me. And one day, a friend of mine calls and says, "Hey, we want to do a documentary about the Stagecoach Inn. Are you interested?" and
Oh.
it was the Spirit Realm Network out of California. And so I found myself being thrown back into this again. And I thought, what am I going to call myself now? I said,
Mm.
why would anybody want to go back into that freaking dark river of hell?
Right.
Thus came along Dark River Paranormal. And it's everywhere. That river runs everywhere. It runs deep, it runs shallow, it runs wide, it runs narrow. Because once you get wet, once you say those magic words, is there anybody there? You're in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And a lot of these teams, and I'm seeing like these YouTube channels with these kids that are doing investigations, and these um the ones that are faking evidence are is making it really hard on us that have been in the paranormal for a long time.
Yes,
And
and I've made that conversation many times. I
mm,
believe that it's real. Of course, I believe it's something other than what people believe it is. They believe it's a Casper, and it's not Casper; it's a demon. But nevertheless,
mm,
when we're in the paranormal and we're trying to prove that it's existing, and you get fake evidence out there, and you get these kids that are just wired on Red Bulls and all this kind of stuff, it makes that mountain that we're climbing to reach that peak to prove the paranormal
mm,
exists further away and even steeper. We're trying
yeah.
to climb that mountain all the time. And so it doesn't help matters. It doesn't help matters to fake anything. And if I would, and one more piece of advice to any new paranormal investigator, if you're going out to want to be famous, to be like one of these TV personalities, you've already failed in being a paranormal investigator.
Yep.
You have failed hugely, because if that's what your goal is, you're done. Nobody's gonna take you seriously. These YouTubers, they're making money. You failed. I don't take you seriously at it, not a
Mm,
bit. I'm quiet. I don't post any. I used to post things all the time. I don't anymore. It's the same old bumps and taps and K2 hits, and nothing's changed. It's all still the
yeah.
same. I'm not going to post it all over again. I do it I do it for my clients now. I don't do it for exposure. People
Mm,
know that I exist. They know I'm here. If they want to get a hold of me, they can. They know they can go to my website, uh, Dark River Paranormal and Outlook.com, and they can look me up. Or they go to my website, AllenLobo.com. I got a lot of cool
mm.
videos on there, but mostly it's for my books. But there's some really cool evidence on there as well.
There is a lot of stuff on your website and a lot of stuff that you have done over the years. And I was looking over your website the other day and I was just going, how am I going to fit all this into my show?
There's
Because
a lot. There's a lot there.
now, whenever you're doing these kind of investigations and everything, how do you protect your own family from the stuff that may have attached themselves to you?
Well, as I stated earlier, I don't
Mm.
inject myself into investigations anymore. I don't
Right.
purposely make myself known, even though I'm pretty sure they know I'm there. But I
Mm.
have my little rituals where when I leave a
Mm.
house, I symbolically wipe my feet of the house. It's right in the Bible. It's all, if you're leaving a place that's full of evil, you wipe your feet at the threshold of the door and you move on. So it's very
Mm.
symbolic. And I recite the Lord's Prayer. And I literally scrub everything. I mean, I say a prayer
Mm.
over it. It's just the Lord's Prayer. It's all you need to do. And I put it in my closet and I put it away and I just forget about it. I never did those things before. My wife
Mm.
she was affected. My brother-in-law, oh my God, he was that.
Mm.
I'm gonna give too many reveals away on my book. In too deep. My brother-in-law is a minister, used to be,
Mm.
and he knew what I did, and he had been involved in a couple of exorcisms before. And I said, Mike, how was that? He says it was really loud, a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling.
Ah.
But he came to visit. He came to visit every year in July to celebrate his mother's birthday, and that's why we were in Ida Grove. Me and Pam, we moved up there because she was really ill. It was only supposed to be for like a really short period of time because the doctor said she was failing dramatically. I quit my job. We moved up there. We sold everything. We moved up there.
Mm.
Anyway, long story short, we were there for 7 years. and
Oh my,
and
7 years.
and yeah, 7 years. We was there for 7 years. And so anyway, Mike shows up, and I knew something had followed me home, and I brought it into the house. In fact, we had her mother downstairs in the bedroom, downstairs, kind of a day room, because it was too difficult for her to walk up and down the stairs anymore to the one bathroom they had. And
Mm.
so one night she says to me, she says, "What are you kids doing on them steps all night long?" She says, "All I hear is people running up and down the steps all night long. What are you doing?" And I said, "Mom," I said, well, "we're not running up and down the steps all night long." So I put up some camera equipment on the staircase area with a vibration sensor,
Mm.
and just to see if anything would happen. And I got video of it. Something taps on the vibration sensor and then knocks it off. And
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
it's all on tape. I cut it all. It's really cool. But anyway, I told myself, I said, I'm going to have a sit down with whatever's here. I said, look, I don't know what's in this house. I don't know if you follow me from the Stagecoach Inn, but my brother-in-law is a minister and he will have you removed. That's all
Mm.
there is to it. So Mike shows up, second night, he's there. I'm thinking, do I talk to him or do I wait? Well, I'll wait one more day. That morning I get up, we have breakfast, and he brought along another person with him to help drive. Her name was Megan, in the ministry with him. And all of a sudden she says, the strangest thing happened to me last night. Really? What was that? She says, well, I'm there in bed and I wake up and I couldn't move. She says, I was just like paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't lift my head. I couldn't lift my arms. It was just like I was just pressed into bed. She was the strangest thing ever happened. And she says, and then there was Mike. And I'm going, Mike, what was Mike? We got to understand the bedrooms were like cornered to each other. So you could, from one
Mm.
doorway, you could see into another doorway to the foot of somebody else's bed. Okay.
Mm.
That's the way it was kind of arranged up there. She says, I could look, and she says, I seen Mike, and he was standing at the foot of his bed, and he was like, his nose was like just a few inches from the wall, just standing there, swaying back and forth, just like this.
Oh.
And I'm going, oh my God, this thing is showing me how strong it is. And it
Oh.
was like, I am not going to say a word. It was like, pass the eggs, please. It was, I mean, she says, and it just went away. She says, I fell asleep. And she said, and Mike says, well, I don't remember that. She says, Mike, you were standing at the edge of your bed, right at the foot of the bed, looking at the wall. I seen you
Oh
just
my
standing there.
God.
And I thought, this thing is showing me how powerful it really truly
Yeah.
is. And I still don't know what I seen it. I did see something, and I talk about it in my last book. It was kind of a series of books. It was In Too Deep, and then of course it was this final book. It was In
In
Conflict,
conflict.
and I named it In Conflict because I was in conflict. I didn't want to go back. I did not want to go back to it. I didn't want to get back into the paranormal. I was in conflict about the whole thing, but I do believe I seen what was there, and it was not of this earth, and nobody should be forced to see what I seen. And I won't even try to attempt to describe it, but it's in this book.
Oh my God. That is kind of creepy in and of itself. Now, when it comes to the paranormal and all that, and so we've got this collaboration of all of what's paranormal. We have UFOs, we have cryptos, we have paranormal ghosts. What are your thoughts on UFOs and cryptos?
Yeah, you know, I don't really know. Does Bigfoot exist? I got my stories, but you don't want, I don't want to invade what I'm, people think, oh, this guy's real nuts because now he's seeing Bigfoot too. I didn't see Bigfoot. That's a whole nother story. But this is a big planet we live on, or a big universe we live in. And we're just this one little rock hanging precariously in nothingness. There's no reason why there isn't something else out there. Our creator is a dynamic, powerful entity of its own. Why couldn't we be an experiment to something else in an experiment someplace else?
Exactly. That's what my thoughts were too. Like an ant farm.
So exactly, yes. So why couldn't that experiment extend on to other galaxies, other, Milky Ways? I don't know. Is there a missing link? It's always possible. I mean, there's fish that have been caught out of the ocean that have been thought to be extinct for 1 million years that are still here. There's I believe it was the panda bear in China was thought to be some kind of a godlike creature that people would occasionally see. They didn't believe it was real, but there's such thing as pandas. So does Bigfoot exist? I don't know. This little story I'll share with you. It was I was in a timber. I was a deer hunter at one time. I used to hunt a lot of deer, tree stands. I go in the middle of the morning, way early in the morning, to get to my tree stand. And I got in my tree stand, and from where I was positioned in this timber, wasn't very deep into the timber, but it was deep enough that you couldn't see my tree stand from the road. But I could also make out headlights if anything was coming down a road from a distance, just piercing through the trees. And nobody else was in that parking lot that I was in. In fact, when I left, there was still nobody there. But I was in the tree, and all of a sudden, I heard these 3 really loud knocks. They were banging knocks. And I thought that was weird. And then within a moment later, it was totally primate. I told my dad about it. He said, it was probably screech owls. But for about 4.5 minutes after those knocks, it sounded like a whole community of primates just cackling. It was crazy. So I should dig up the video and send it to the Bigfoot Society. But I had a camera with me that I was so I could document my hunt, of course. And I'd been in this tree now for a while. And I thought, I'm gonna get out and stretch my legs. I hadn't seen anything. I'll just kind of walk around and do a walk hunt. And probably within 150 yards of my tree stand, I found a deer. It was a young deer. And he was laying on the ground. Its tongue was hanging out. Its neck was twisted around. It had blood coming out of both its ears. It was like something broke its neck. And I got to tell you, I was looking around. I was like, oh my God, my blood ran cold. Right. And I'm thinking, I don't have a gun. All I have is a bow. Is there something here with me? And I documented the whole deer. I videotaped the whole deer and what it looked like. And I still got the recording somewhere. And I left. I came back the next day, and that deer was gone. And he was just gone. So do I believe in Bigfoot? Well, I don't know. Maybe. I just
you
can't
did
explain
experience something that you couldn't explain. Oh my God.
I could not explain it. Could not explain it.
Oh, well, the reason I
And
asked you about, go ahead. Or the reason I was asking about it is because Frank Kick in the audience said aliens are us from the future. Ancient cultures describes beings appearing from nowhere. That seems like time travel. So this aliens are from an apocalyptic future. They return to this time to secure the future, their future, so their future could exist.
well, he really thought about that, didn't he?
He did.
That's way above this 12th grader's education.
Right? Oh my God, that's just...
I don't know. You know, I believe that there could be lapse in time, you know, like what they call these portals, where that's how they move from one dimension to another. It could be the same way that these entities move as well. I talk about it in conflict about ley lines.
Oh, yeah,
And
the ley
how
lines.
these entities use ley lines to travel back and forth. The Native Americans used ley lines because there was energy, and they believed that that's where you find a lot of Native American burial grounds is near ley lines and Indian encampments, because they felt the energy of the earth. And I honestly feel that, like, for instance, they got, I think it's at Edinburgh Manor, I think. They have an entity called the Joker that's there. Well, I know that there is an entity that's similar to it that was at the Stagecoach Inn, and I got some maps out and I started watching ley lines, and I'll be damned if there isn't like 6 ley lines that hit exactly in Scottish Grove, Iowa, where McIntyre is. Anyway,
Oh,
but one of those ley
McIntyre is a
lines
whole other
runs.
thing.
One of those, not McIntyre, Edinburgh Manor.
Yeah.
One of those ley lines runs straight west, and guess where it goes? Right to the Stagecoach Inn.
Oh, shit. Oh my God.
Directly to the Stagecoach Inn. So I thought, you know, it could be that everybody's experiencing the same type of activity, but calling it something different.
Right.
And these things are just using them as highways, and they can generate down these highways at light speed. I mean, they just take that portal, and they're just there. Christopher Moon said the staircase at the Stagecoach Inn was just a massive portal. He said there was so much stuff coming in and out of there. He's one of these psychic mediums, and he says there's just a ton of stuff coming through there. And don't get me going on psychic mediums, because I can go on with that all day. But again, Lobo.
Well, yeah. Psychic mediums are one of the, because, you know, I have one that comes on my show once a month we do cold cases. And me and another paranormal investigator, we'll come up with our own cold case, and don't tell him about it, just to prove that he does have, his guides are real, that they exist.
That's it. It is real. It's authentic.
Yeah,
it really is. And I believe it. I totally believe in it.
Oh yeah.
But what I also believe in is it's deception. In it, they are being led down a road because of my theories on the demonic is that they say, okay, this person thinks they can see the future. Let's get into their head and let them see the future. So they've actually tapped into something dark that's feeding them the information without even knowing it. That's why it says in the Bible that you should not relate to psychic mediums or psychics, because of that connection with evil. And these things, I mean, these are good people. Oh my gosh, I have so many friends that are psychic mediums. But I truly believe that they don't understand the fact that they're like, what do you call it? The marionette?
Oh, puppets.
Right.
Oh, the puppet master, so, or something like that.
They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're guiding the policemen. They're doing all these things. And it's just my belief. Whether you just, like at the end of my book, you decide. You know, that's just how it is.
Oh, I get it. I've my mama was the same way when I was growing up, and she'll still to this day tells me I'm crazy for even wanting to try to do anything like this in my career. But at the same time, she witnessed a whole bunch of crap when she was growing up, from her sister being into black magic and from all kinds of different paranormal stuff, phenomena that was happening to her. And I remember when I was a teenager, I had gotten a book called Wiccan, the white magic, and I was reading into it because it was interesting to me, and I was wanting to see if maybe that might be one of the paths that I was going for. That wasn't. I totally believe in my creator, but at the same time, it's like this stuff is a different species in and of itself because it's a lot.
It's amazing how, you know, we as investigators, you know, we think our parents think we're nuts or whatever, you know, and they don't believe in this stuff. My dad, who was a very matter-of-fact man, grew up in the Depression, hard life, ended up doing very well for himself. But he said, Alan, he said, I got to tell you a story. And I said, what's that, Dad? And he says, your Uncle Daryl. I said, what about him? He says, well, Uncle Daryl, when he was young, he had horrible headaches. Horrible. It just they were so bad. And your mom, your grandma and granddad, they went to all kinds of doctors. They lived down in Decatur County, which Dad still refers to as the poorest county in the state of Iowa. He said they went everywhere to try to find a doctor to help my Uncle Daryl with these terrible, terrible headaches. And one night he was having one of these headaches, and it was so bad he was throwing up, and it was just like, it was bad. And this was back in, you know, in about 1926 or 27. So this is a long time ago.
Wow.
And somebody knocks at the door and talks to my granddad, I guess, and because they knew about Daryl having this problem, and it was in the middle of the night. Dad says, Granddad loaded us all up in the wagon, and we went south, and they didn't live very far from the Missouri border. And they went across the border to this house, to this woman's house who was a magnetic healer. I had to look it up. There was such a thing called a magnetic healer. In fact, there was a school years ago that taught magnetic healing. And
oh my gosh.
They brought him into the house, and you understand, my dad's, like, again, very matter of fact. And they brought Daryl into the house, and this woman, she had this pump in the house. It was an old hand pump, and she got it going, and she put her hands under the water, and she wrung them together, and she wiped Daryl's face, and then she put more water into a tin cup. She says, drink this water. And as she's holding both sides of his head, Daryl drank the water and then threw up violently. And then my dad started crying when he told me the story. He was crying the whole time. He says, Alan, he says, your uncle was so sick at that point, and he never had another headache in his life. He says, and my,
I just got goosebumps.
My dad was crying. My dad was crying not because of the healing. He was crying because he didn't understand it.
Right.
You know, it was just like something he couldn't wrap his head around. So when people, you know, somebody somewhere has always had some kind of an experience to share. Yeah. And that's why I think, you know, it's necessary not to fake this stuff, as we were talking earlier. These YouTubers, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's real. We can get some good out of this, evidently. Yeah. You know, I don't know. You know, I'm a grain of sand on a billion beaches of sand. Yeah. As far as who I am. I'm nobody. And I just try to do what I can with what I have.
Exactly. Now, my husband is a big skeptic. He can be slapped in the face by a ghost and say it's me, and I'm across the room, and I'm just like, come on, you felt it. No, there's got to be a reasonable explanation for this. And I'm like, oh.
Well, yeah, and there are people like, and God bless them for it. You know, when somebody tells me that they don't believe in ghosts and they don't believe in demons, and that I'm just full of crap, I say, God bless you. You stay exactly where you are at. Please stay exactly where you are at. Because, you know, in all honesty, I wish I never wrote a book. I wish I would have just listened to Melinda say it was mommy and just go, Okay, she's just
Mm.
that's just the way it is, and just went on my business and never pursued it. There are so many times I wish I had just left it alone, and and
Mm.
and I can't go back because again, once you get wet in this,
Yep,
you're
you
in.
can't. Yeah, you can't get
You
out.
can't turn around. And that's why it's even more important, as we were talking earlier, to let that light in all the time, to
Oh
find
yeah.
something to find something that brings you some happiness and joy, something you can hang on to, some a good memory, because the bad memories are out there, and those bad memories are just they're like magnets, and they'll grab onto anything dark they
Uh,
can.
yeah. It's like a cancer. It spreads, and
Exactly. Yes.
it is
But
something
even
that's very
can
dangerous.
but even cancer can be seen. I mean, it can be
Yep.
seen on an X-ray,
Yep.
and it can be battled. Um, there are people out there that are affected by demonic things, dark things that people don't believe. They don't believe it's happening, and
Yep.
it is. And there's no X-ray to show it, and it all
Yeah.
comes down to one word: faith.
Yep. They use that. They use that to bring you in. And I noticed that at one of the places that I used to go to a lot, and it was a hospital in Arkansas. And not just Arkansas though. Have you ever been to New Orleans?
I have not. No.
Oh my gosh. Every time I go to New Orleans, I get this pull. Like it's trying to suck me into New Orleans and making me stay there because it's like there's so much energy in New Orleans. It's not even funny. And I'm going to New Orleans again in August. But that
I got a sister that lives in Savannah, Georgia,
oh,
and
Savannah.
she just
Whew.
moved down there, and she because her children live down there, and where my nieces and nephews, but she moved down there to be close to them. She says, Alan, you got to come down here. This is like the world's hottest place on the planet. And I go, just for that reason, no. I don't want to come down. So yeah, but
Savannah
yeah,
is crazy.
no interest.
But it's
Count me
like you're
out.
talking about. You only go to these places like 3 times, and you just
That's it.
that's your limit
Three times, and
because
that's it
it
for me.
does become an obsession. You want to go to this place constantly, especially if you go like the hospital that I went to. Every time I went, I got something. I'm not shitting you.
Oh,
Every
yeah,
time
I know.
something happened, and it's like a drug. You just got to go to
It's
get that
because
extra bit.
you know I truly believe once you have, like with me, for instance, you know, being so close to it, and it finally noticed that I noticed it, and it
Mm-hmm.
noticed me. And when that happens, for years, I never had any kind of encounters at all. And then it was after the Stagecoach Inn, I was having encounters everywhere. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I was telling you, I had devices getting thrown off of end tables, boards falling over, lights getting shut off. I mean, I'm capturing all this stuff that I never thought in my entire life anything like that would happen. But it wasn't until after the Stagecoach Inn. It's almost like this big neon sign was put over my head by these dark things that says, "Kick this guy."
No.
you know, um,
Huh?
uh, Rebecca Foster, who's a psychic, she's a PhD, she's psychic medium, she's all kinds of stuff. Um, she says, Alan, she says, these things really know who you are. Father Ruben Lopez said, Alan, he says, you weren't possessed. He says, you were far from being possessed. He says, you were obviously obsessed. He says, but now these demons find you as being interesting.
Better when we're together.
I'm thinking, great. That's some good
It's always better when we're
news. So,
Right.
but there again, I don't know. I just go
Right.
by what people tell me.
Oh,
Do I
I get
think
it.
do I think I got demons around me? I hope not.
No,
I
nobody
really,
wants demons around.
no, I really hope that's not the case. I
Well,
don't want that to happen to me.
no. And after 40 years, what do you want people to understand most about the paranormal that they're getting wrong?
What they're getting wrong,
Yeah.
I would have to say, good question. What they're getting wrong. that it's not a game. I know that it's not a game.
Mm,
That's one thing they're getting wrong. They think it's a big thrill chase. It's clicks on
mm,
their website. It's making them famous. They're getting all that wrong. But mostly what they're
mm,
getting wrong is um, not understanding that it can hurt you is what they're getting wrong. It can hurt you. They're saying it can't. There's not a big deal. You're wrong. It is a big deal.
mm,
You shouldn't do what you're doing. Um, Understand that all these gadgets, you're getting it wrong. These don't detect spirits. They don't really work. They're only working because these spirits are allowing them to. You're getting that wrong as well. In fact, who's that guy that is it Ghost Adventures? That they have that guy that invents stuff for them all the time.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Ghost Adventures.
yeah,
Bob, Bob or Bill. Oh God, I can't remember his
I
name.
can't think what his name is. Anyway, on all of his devices he builds that you can buy for thousands of dollars, right on the
Mm,
back of them they have a sticker, a disclaimer says for entertainment value only.
mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
it does not prove anything. So
Mm-mm.
you're getting it wrong when you think that you're gonna be famous and you're gonna discover something. I guess that's one thing I can say about it.
Yep. I agree. I agree. Julie says, if I believed in past lifetime, I would believe I lived in the French Quarter. I love New Orleans. Yeah, New Orleans is great. Last question. If someone
Sure.
listening right now is experiencing something paranormal and they're scared, what is the first thing you tell them to do?
For one thing, don't overreact.
Mm,
Calm yourself down. It probably has an explanation to it. Okay. Calm down. If you think you have something going on in your house right now at this very moment, try first to ignore it. These things like attention more than anything in the world. They love
mm.
attention. Ignore it. Oh, losing light.
Ah.
um, try to ignore it. And if you honestly believe that it's something there, ask one question:
Mm,
who's the living water? Ask
mm,
it. If you get a violent response, you'll know that it's something dark there. If you get no response at all, you're probably fine. But ask what the living water is. The first question you should ask: who's the living water? The living water is Christ.
mm,
This is what Father Lopez tells me. He says, Alan, he says, if you walk into a place and you want to know if there's actually something there that's demonic, he says, ask the question, who's the living water? He says, you'll either get a violent response or you'll get nothing at all. So if you're scared, don't let that fear turn into something that can, in fact, manifest itself into something really
mm,
fearful. In other words, like I said earlier, these things are masters at deception. And if they see you're scared, they will slip into those shoes of whatever you're scared of and begin the haunting.
mm.
So you've got to stand your ground. You got to be very strong in your spiritual self and say, look, I don't know what's here, but I got something stronger than you and I will use it. And it's the blood of Christ. You've got to. You've got to.
Oh, definitely. Oh, that is some good advice. Very, very good advice. I'm gonna be using that.
Okay.
So, Alan, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your books. Plug away.
Okay. My Facebook page is Dark River Paranormal. Dark River Paranormal. You can find me at my website is allenlobo.com. And those are basically just the two places where you can find me at. I don't have any other locations. There's an email address on there if you want to email me, darkriver at outlook.com, I believe is what it is. I've only emails I ever really get are from haters.
Oh,
But,
yeah. I mean, at
uh,
least they're paying attention, right? I guess.
yeah. But um, but no, I am always I have people that give me a call all the time. Alan, I'm having this issue. Can you help me? Can you work me through it? It's like, well, I can try. I'm not there. I've been known to give advice over the phone before. I don't give out my phone number. I don't know how these people get my phone number. I've taken it off of my Facebook page, but I've had people actually call me. I'm sitting there like, listening to the radio outside, just enjoying myself.
You are a raider.
They call me,
Legendary.
what's going on in my house? What do I do about it? Where do you live at? Well, in one case, somebody does actually live in Oklahoma. It's like, well, I can't come there.
Quintuple kill, suckers!
AllenLobo.com.
I think I've only done that like twice. But, oh man,
it's all about the books. There's some
the
information
game.
on there. You've seen the website. There's some really cool videos on
I'm
there.
sure that just peaked this microphone.
I now have.
Yeah, that happens.
Maybe it's wrong of
hey,
me to do
you
this.
gotta deal with what you gotta
I
deal
now
with
have
when you're
what
in
they
the
call
afterlife,
Lobo's
right?
Library on my website.
I mean, let's be
and
honest.
The
If
reason
you were a
it's
ghost,
there,
you can go anywhere, do anything,
I also
and
have
no
a
one can see you.
YouTube page, which is not necessary to talk about, but
Wouldn't
people find
you?
it, they find it. I've noticed that most people that read my books are not paranormal investigators. They're just ordinary people because they like a good scare. When I wrote these books, that's what they were designed for, just a story. And then I realized they were a tool. And I told them, I said, if any portion of your life reflects what I've written in these books, you need to step back and look at your life. And I thought that's a great selling topic. Well, nobody in the paranormal world wants to read my books. So what I did was I designed a YouTube channel to send them over to my website, and it's designed for the spouses to scare the hell out of them. To say, I'm using the spouses as a lever to tell these investigators to read my books. So you can look at yourself, and if you see any part of your life reflecting any part of mine, it's time to step back and reevaluate.
Oh, yeah.
Just a sales angle. That's all it is. Just a sales angle. I'm really not a bad guy, but I come off as kind of an asshole on my YouTube page. But yeah, I want people.
All that thought.
Okay.
I got someone. I turned into a ghost. Oh my goodness.
You did. Freaking me out.
Well, it's connected to my Snapchat. Whenever people follow, thank you for the follow. I turned into a ghost. So
oh my God. I just seen a ghost. First ghost of my life.
So people can find your books at Allen Lobo. It's ALLEN Lobo LOBO @.com.
Right. Yep. And what it is there's
go ahead.
There's just links there. There's just links that they can click on, take them right to Amazon, and they can purchase a book. If they're really interested and they want a signed copy, they got to get a hold of me. I'll get a couple copies. I don't carry copies anymore, and then I send them out with a signature on.
Awesome. Now, do you have any kind of events or anything that you do? Do you go to events or anything like that?
I do not. I do not go to events. I used to, but it's the same old stuff. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say anyway.
Oh, of course they do. I did.
And well, yeah, most of them, they don't like me coming into their location thinking, Allen, he wants to throw holy water on our whole building.
Well, Allen, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure and honor speaking with you again. Thank you for your service to our wonderful country. It's greatly appreciated.
You're very welcome.
And don't go anywhere. We're going to close up right now. Guys that are watching, thank you so much for watching. Beyond, you came in on a raid. Thank you so much for the raid. And I am about to end the show. But if you guys want to go back and watch this show, you can go to rumble.com /E.P.P podcast. You can go to YouTube. It's youtube.com/Geeks Paranormal. That's going to be up and live right after it renders, I'm pretty sure. Tune in next week. I'm going to have Pat Fitzhugh on. We're going to talk about one of his favorite locations as well. Until then, you guys stay free, stay safe, always do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I'll see you guys later. Bye, y'all.
Switch it on and come along. Haunted houses all night long. Gaming streams and ghostly scenes. Just chatting with the in-betweens. IRL, she's on the case. Finding spirits in each place. Every game she plays with flair. G.E.E.K.S, paranormal, she's there. Ghosts and games it's quite a sight. From the haunted house she flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. Geeks Paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks Paranormal's bright. Just chatting through sunrise. Join the stream, it's quite a sight. She flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. Geeks Paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks Paranormal's bright. Just chatting through sunrise. Join the stream, it's quite a sight. In the dark, she finds the light. Streams of fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight, G.E.E.K.S Paranormal shines so bright.